Well, it's hard to believe, but today marks 1 year since the deadliest wildfire in U.S. history on the Hawaiian island of Maui. 102 people were killed that day as flames ravaged the historic town of Lahaina.
Yeah, one of our KPRC2 managers, Tiffani Lupenski, has a home on Maui and joins us live from that area, which is just north of the burn zone. Good morning, Tiffani. So I know you got the chance to see one of the areas that was hardest hit. Can you tell us about the progress that you think has been made in the last year?
Yeah, I was able to go into the burn zone actually for the first time this week since the fire last year, and it was really stunning actually to see. They've done so much work clearing property after property. There were about 1,400 residential properties and another 70 or so businesses that were destroyed in the fire, and they've done a lot of clearing, and yet there's still so much work to be done. We saw areas, properties that still had all of the fire rubble on them, still had burnt out cars. So I think that's one of the things that was the most interesting to me, that again, so much work has been done in the last year, and yet there's still so far to go to recover.
I mean, like what, to me? Like, what's the biggest need there now? Is it just the actual physical rebuilding, or I mean, imagine all these families, like, where are they? They've all been displaced.
They are, and in fact, where I'm standing right now is the beginning of a resort area that a lot of our audience might recognize. It's the Ka'anapali Resort area, about 4 miles north of Lahaina. Up until about 2 months ago, this lawn behind me where I'm standing was a massive supply distribution center for food and clothing, and fire survivors were coming by every single day picking up supplies still, like I said, up until about a couple of months ago. There are still FEMA workers, American Red Cross workers living in some of these hotels, servicing the island and the population. There's still basic need for housing. They are still looking for affordable housing units, long-term rentals for a lot of these families to move into. So it sounds almost unbelievable, but a lot of the needs are still as basic as they were a year ago.
Wow. Yeah. So is this an area that's heavily just like touristy area, or are there residents, and did the majority of those residents leave? I know, unfortunately for the ones who did stay, it sounds like they're still in a desperate situation, but did the majority of the other residents, are they still there?
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing to see as well. There are a lot of people who have who've lived here, for a long time. Lahaina was both a very deeply historic residential area where a lot of locals had lived for generations and lived in multi-generational housing, along with some of the more popular restaurants and shops that, again, a lot of tourists would recognize on the street that is called Front Street. So it was a really interesting mix of commercial and residential. The people who lived in the town itself, there's no housing there right now, and so a lot of them have left the island. The University of Hawaii actually just launched a study to try to get a better sense of how is the population, how are the people of Maui really doing a year later, and what they're finding is nearly half of the people who responded said that they're suffering from health issues. There are some similar type health issues that you would see like after 9/11 and Ground Zero, where you had so much toxic debris in the air and smoke inhalation from the night of the fire. And then another 50% or so were reporting depression. And a lot of that has to do with just the economic instability out here now. Tourism is the top industry out here. And with a lot of the restaurants and family-owned businesses and charter boats and things like that tourists take advantage of when they're out on this island, a lot of that is gone. And a lot of people are really, really struggling with livelihood and what they're going to be able to do to get an income to get back into housing.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, about the tourism industry, since it is such a big part of Hawaii, if they're not really ready or to accommodate or accept tourists. I don't know if you noticed on your flight over, if it looked not as crowded as it usually is. It was still summertime when you left.
It was, yeah, and that's actually kind of a catch-22. The flights coming out here are incredibly full. Some of that has to do with the fact, though, that a lot of the airlines have cut back on the number of flights that come out here every single day because the demand is down. Year to date, I think the Hawaii Tourism Authority just said that year-to-date tourism is down about 24%. And so there is still a lot of Maui that goes beyond just the town of Lahaina in this particular area of West Maui where we are. And even though there was a lot of information coming out in the early days and weeks after the fire about, don't come, people are grieving, it's not really the time to come out here and vacation. It's sort of the catch-22 of it now is with tourism now having been declining for the last year, it's a real problem for the island. And so they're really trying to bring tourists back. Again, Maui is a large island. There's a lot of other places besides Lahaina for people to visit and spend money at local businesses and try to sustain that tourism industry. The Hawaii Tourism Authority is just about to launch an enormous campaign on the U.S. mainland to try to get people back out here.
Yeah.
Who is responsible for the fire? Like, what's been revealed in the last year?
It's very similar to the wildfire in Paradise, California. It's sort of a combination of deadly mistakes. Hawaii Electric Company was just part of, I think it was a $4 billion settlement that was announced, but the state of Hawaii was also culpable in that. The responders out here, locals will tell you they did a tremendous job trying to get everyone out safely on the night of the fire, but the reality is they had communication issues, there were radio issues, there was miscommunication about whether a fire that had kind of sparked that morning was actually put out, and some firefighters left the scene, and then it turned out that it wasn't really out and ended up being the fire that killed all the people and destroyed the town. So there's a lot of blame to go around, and that $4 billion settlement that was just announced this week has 7 or 8 defendants in it, including the state of Hawaii and Hawaii Electric Company.
Wow. Yeah. A lot of blame to go around there, and just a tragic situation.
Yeah.
We appreciate your insight there. I know that is you consider that a second home. So we appreciate you kind of being able to show us what's happening there.
Yeah. And we know it's 2:30 in the morning. So thank you so much for helping to explain this to our viewers in the middle of the night. They're in Hawaii.